Hey everyone, how's it going? Elliot here again. It's an intro that I haven't done in a while. Today we are going to be doing a Game Boy Color modification build type thing, essentially from scratch. The only Game Boy Color motherboard I have is within this Game Boy, which doesn't work. I don't know why, I've never opened it up. I think I bought it in a lot of stuff from like Germany a few months ago. The Game Boy Color wasn't what was in there of interest to me, so I just don't think I ever bothered doing anything with it. You turn it on, and although the sound is working, the screen isn't doing anything at all. So we'll definitely have to rip that open and figure out what the problem is. I have a replacement shell here that I did in a 5 accessories that I still made today video, which was £3. So I'm expecting this thing to be pretty questionable quality. And finally, I have a front light. Now, front lights are not exactly the most sort of modern, up-to-date mod. We have a McWill screen, a Ben Ven screen, and also a knockoff China backlit LCD screen. But a lot of people can't afford those screens. They come in at all around the sort of $50 price mark, whereas these tiny little front light kits are very, very affordable at a low cost of around $10 US. So, without any further ado, is another thing I haven't said in a while. Let's just crack on with it. So start by removing the batteries. Then we're going to go ahead and undo all 6 of the tri-ring screws around the outside of the shell and lift off the back housing. So we need to find out why this thing is not working, and it was pretty clear to me the second I got that back piece off, the ribbon cable just hadn't been plugged back in. Fortunately, it works absolutely perfectly. The disassembly will continue by removing the Phillips screws, undo the ribbon cable, pull out the motherboard and remove the buttons. The screen is held down by some adhesive. Gently flex the front of the shell and the screen will lift off. The new front light panel is going to add some extra thickness to the screen, so we will need to remove the layer of adhesive foam to ensure that the shell closes properly. The replacement shell turned out to actually be quite decent. For $3 you can't really complain. This was an AliExpress sale bargain. The mod pack comes with 2 wires. Go ahead and strip both ends of those and trim the resistor down to a reasonable size. Then tin everything with your soldering iron and solder the red wire to the resistor. Cut a piece off the end of the red wire and stick that on the end as well. Then we're going to cut down the shrink tube provided and shrink that on using a soldering iron or a lighter. Now the front light panel has a little ribbon cable which comes off it. I'm assuming each of those pads provides power to each of the LEDs. Go ahead and tin all of the pads up and solder the green wire to all of the pads but one on the right hand side, and then solder the red wire to the remaining pad. Now we're going to want to route the wires down to the bottom side of the board. This is because we're going to be powering this panel using the DC-DC converter connections on the Game Boy Color's motherboard. Applying the membrane over the wires will ensure that they are held down nicely. Cutting a small piece of Kapton tape and adhering that to the ribbon cable will just prevent any shortages from the ribbon cable onto the motherboard. Go ahead and reconnect the ribbon cable, seat the motherboard back down and apply the screws. We need to give the front light some power. Go ahead and add some flux to the top and bottom pin of the left hand set and then solder the green wire to the bottom and the red wire to the top. Let's chuck the back on and put some batteries in and see if the front light works. We'll finish this whole thing off by putting these 6 screws back around the outside of the shell, applying the sticker to the back of the shell and the brand new screen lens. I'm really happy with the overall look of this thing. Let's see what the results of the front lights are like. Overall, I am pretty happy with how this has turned out. It has to be said, obviously, that compared to what we do have now, like the LCD mods that you can do, which actually don't even require any soldering, this thing obviously is not going to stand up to those. But in terms of bang for your buck, as the saying goes, this thing is incredible. I mean, I paid, what was it, $6 for that front light, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. I can now play this Game Boy in the dark. Unfortunately, the way that the diffuser has to work means that we get a few sort of graphical issues on the screen. The reason why there's a piece of plastic here and not just a row of LEDs is this is actually sort of diffusing the light. So if you were to have a look at like a section view of the plastic, it's going to have a load of different sort of wavy patterns in it, which almost reflects the light as it's bouncing up. What that's doing though for our screen is creating a very sort of cloudy looking image that there's absolutely nothing we can do about. So you have to really ask yourself, is this front light mod improving your gaming experience? And in my opinion, yes, it still does. Much like the modern LCD screens that are being made for this thing, which has a transflective display, the Game Boy Color screen is obviously still present in here. And the way that it was lit previously is through the reflective panel at the back of the display. The light transfers through, gets reflected from the back and up into our eyes, obviously then giving us the view on the screen. Now, although as I mentioned, the new LCD screens have this transflective display technology where it's still going to do that, this still works absolutely perfectly, and in the right lighting, this screen is still going to look absolutely stunning. It does have to be said though, that cloudiness that I mentioned earlier is still obviously going to be present, so regardless of whether the front light is being fully utilized in the light or the dark, you're still going to get that cloudiness sort of image. But you have to just sort of reel in the closed-mindedness and remember that this thing costs $6. I love that moment where you get your shield. It's like the first part of the game where you feel epic. That music just comes in and you just feel the power. And then you get knocked down by the little bulldog thing and you feel absolutely pathetic.